Zimbabwe's latest revolution. Knox Chivero paints a dreamy picture of change. And just when you thought Zimbabwean politics couldn't get any wilder, here comes Knox Chivero of the so called Geza Revolution, painting a utopian vision of a non partisan national transitional authority. Yes, you heard that right. An administration where politicians magically vanish and fair elections miraculously appear like rain in a drought. According to an audio circulating like a pirate radio broadcast, Chivero claims the revolution will unfold in the coming days, sweeping away the usual suspects and replacing them with an unbiased system free from political interference. A bold claim given that ZANU PF treats power like an inheritance rather than a mandate. Will Mnangagwa and his henchmen simply step aside and allow this grand experiment to happen? Or will they do what they do best, tighten their grip, unleash their riot police, and remind Zimbabweans who really runs the show? For now, this revolution remains a whisper in the wind. But if it does gain traction, it will be interesting to see how the usual power players react. Will they laugh it off, or will they panic at the thought of Zimbabweans dreaming beyond their iron fisted rule? One thing is certain: if Chivero and company think they can pull this off without resistance, they might be in for a reality check. Stay tuned to Zimwaves TV, where we separate the revolutionary dreams from the political nightmares. We leave you listening to Comrade Chivero's audio. Be the judges, Zimbabweans.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Mangwanani, maskati, chone njani, livuke njani. This is Knox Chivero, the Geza Revolution. Ndiri kuda kukureminder kuti the Geza Revolution is unstoppable. And it is in operation right now. Never despair, maintain the momentum. We are managing the project. So there are a few things we have to be sorted out before people go onto the streets to protest. This will be a Zimbabwe equivalent of the Arab Spring, when the people of this country, Zimbabwe, are going to express themselves decisively that all tyranny and dictatorship must disappear from the face of this country called Zimbabwe. We've come from afar. We have tried everything to knock sense into the administrators, but because of their arrogance and sheer stupidity, they have chosen to ignore the plight of the people of this country, Zimbabwe. This is a sacred land which cannot, under any circumstances, be considered to be a personal asset. And the people of Zimbabwe are not personal assets of those who have the power, of those who have the wealth. It is time, now that the people of Zimbabwe, you put your destiny in your hands, never to allow it to be in the hands of political power racketeers. This is the time. This is the time. Anytime, be ready for the final push. We are doing this thing for everybody. It is not partisan. Political parties have tried it since time immemorial. The voters' votes are not secured. The ruling party has got a very efficient rigging machine. And you can continue to have as many elections as you want in this country, and nothing will change. The only way to change the status quo is to remove the monsters. Remove the monsters and come up with a people-oriented constitution. The Geza Revolution is about bringing in a new dispensation, which will start as a national transitional authority composed of sober, patriotic, intelligent, and passionate people, citizens of this country. Party politics has been the greatest case in our country. Parties preach hate language. Parties lack a straightforward ideology. All our political parties have adopted the same policy of one center of power. There is no democracy at the party level. None of the parties is democratic. And they copied all this from ZANU-PF. So there is no way we can talk of dependable party politicking. Because the corruption from ZANU-PF, the dictatorship from ZANU-PF has been pervasive across the board. So the Zimbabwe needs a fresh start. Zimbabwe needs a fresh start where the electoral field is leveled. All the necessary reforms that ensure credible elections should be carried out. And the only body that can do that is the National Transitional Authority. You cannot wait for a political party to assume power and expect it to reform itself. It cannot reform itself, and it cannot even reform the electoral order, because in the process it will reform itself out of power. So you need a neutral body, a neutral entity made up of people who are not representing their political parties, but people who are representing the national perspective. Those are the people who should constitute the National Transitional Authority. Not political parties, because political parties have got their own baggage, which cannot be solved or which cannot be smuggled into the National Transitional Authority. So the best route to go is via the National Transitional Authority, in which we expect security to be the guarantor of that National Transitional Authority. This is very important. This is very important. So that whatever reforms are done, the National Transitional Authority, with a time frame to wind up its operations, is the only way. And then thereafter, people can go for elections. And we expect the results to be credible. Then people can go for elections. Anyone who wins the election, everybody must accept. This is the thing. This is the way to go. We have been having elections for a very long time, including the latest in 2023. That election was discredited by the SADC Observer Mission. The opposition complained that the election was rigged. And they failed to take advantage of the support and the evidence which was provided by the SADC Observer Mission. And surprisingly, the opposition leader decided to drop the whole case and became loudly silent thereafter, and only to go for sabbatical leave. Fair enough. That's one's democratic right to do so. Nobody should complain about that. And then we have the ruling party, which also claimed that it won the elections. And they wanted the election results to be contested by the losing candidate in a court of law. But nobody was foolish enough to trust a captured judiciary. So the case was left to cool off. But the truth of the matter is the 2023 elections, there was no winner. There was no loser. Because the elections were rigged, they were discredited. They were discredited. So there can never be a credible winner or a credible loser in an election which is marred by irregularities. Saka ngatiregerei kupota tichipedza nguva tichingoti inini takawina kana kuti isu takadyiwa asi takawina. The bottom line is the election was flawed. It was marred by irregularities. Saka there can be no winner and there can be no loser. Saka never make a reference to that election uchiti ini ndakawina kana kuti inini ndakarusa. No, it was a discredited plebiscite. So we are saying the Geza Revolution is there to stop all this nonsense. The National Transitional Authority, guaranteed by the security of this country, should be the only body that should be able to come out with comprehensive reforms that need critical attention before we can go to any election. And there should be no political party representation, because the National Transitional Authority is not a coalition of political parties. It's not a government of national unity. It's a transitional authority whose members cover the four sides of this country, and its membership should be composed of people, ethical representatives, who want to make things right for this country. So it should have representatives from the religious sector, student sectors, and some of the sober-minded political gurus in all these political parties. They are there, but they are not going into the National Transitional Authority representing their political parties. It's a non-starter. The Geza Revolution should not be taken as that other episode of trying to fight the ZANU-PF succession wars. Far from it, be assured, the people of Zimbabwe. We have nothing to do with the factional wars in the political parties. We have nothing to do with the succession wars in the political parties, because it is not our business. This is a project to embrace all well-meaning patriotic Zimbabweans, ruling party, opposition parties, name them, but those people who are level-headed, and some civic organizations. It's a multi-stakeholder project. It's a multi-stakeholder project which is embracing everybody, but we will not want someone who comes representing a party position. It's not a coalition of political parties. But we cannot deny it that political parties, in their own way, they can also give guidance to whomsoever they secretly appoint as their representative. We don't mind about that, for as long as you stick to the agenda, not political party positions. They are not to be expressed here in the National Transitional Authority. Ndiko kuti tigadzirise nyika iyi. Hakuna opposition party yaizofa yakabvisa utongi uhu, utongi hwechigananda hwavapo uhu. Never. You have tried all tricks in the bag. Kuwina zvinongorambwa. You have no way of securing the votes of your supporters. Saka kunenge kwangu kugara inenge yangove opposition for the sake of opposition. A political party is formed with the sole aim of gaining political power. Saka unongovharirwa kunze chete ichi chinhu ichi chegeza revolution ichi ndo chinogadzirisa izvozvo. Saka tichiti ndechemunhu wese. Avo vanotaura kuti this thing ndecheZANU-PF urikuda kushandiswa nemacomrades anageza. Some people are so they are short-minded. Havafunge, havagone kuzviona kuti isu tazama zvedu zvataita asi tiri kutadza kupatsiginura apa. Saka now there is an opportunity yekuti tiite chinhu chitsva tese pamwe chete. Chinhu chitsva chedo chichaburitsa nyika yekuti kana vanhu voti takwenda kunokwikwidzana as political parties in a democracy. Unoziva kuti kaiwa kana ndikadyiwa ndadyiwawo asi the conditions were good. The conditions were free and fair. Ndo chinhu chatiri kuda kuti tiite. Without that thing, unongofa uchingoshoshoma uri kuopposition. Uchingopopota, so you will never get there. Saka zvinobatsire chii? Pane zvimwe zvinhu zvinongoda kufunga. Pane zvimwe zvinhu zvinoda kufunga. Zimbabweans tine problem yekuti we do not debate issues. We debate personalities. Ndo pane dambudziko. Mumwe munhu akangotanga kungoti inini panapa inini ndiri kutsigira nhingi anongoda munhu iyeye. Haanei nezvemapolicies emunhu iyeye anongoti ndiri kuda munhu iyeye. Now, that kind of stupidity inonetsa manje. Because you will end up doing exactly the same thing and expecting different results. That's a classical example of clinical insanity, yoyo. And unfortunately, stupidity and idiocy are not treatable diseases. Unotongofa wakadaro. Saka ngatibatsiranei maZimbabweans. This is the time. Mirirai we be ready for the final assault. The monster must go. And the monster must go. Nenyaya ye people's power. Kwete parliament, people's power must force the monster out of office. Tatenda.